Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre with TeddyBaldassarre.com. In this video, we're looking at a watch from Mido with the Ocean Star GMT. So in this video and on this channel, we cover watches available for purchase on our website, TeddyBaldassarre.com, as a full authorized dealer. So in this video, full in-depth review of this timepiece, final points of consideration at the end. Also throughout this video, if you have any further questions, link in the description down below to the product page where you can learn more, purchase the watch, and book a time with one of our dedicated watch specialists as well. But guys, let's jump into the video, take a closer look at this watch. Now, Mido is a brand that falls underneath the Swatch Group umbrella that oftentimes flies under the radar, and I think is probably one of the more underrated brands out there in Swiss watchmaking, especially for its price category. They were originally founded in 1918 in Lallac, Switzerland, but throughout the early part of the company's existence, they produced Art Deco timepieces during the 1920s and 30s, and moving into automotive-styled watches, working with Buick, Bugatti, and Ford, among others. In 1959, Mido introduced the Ocean Star, a waterproof timepiece that featured a single shell body and utilized their proprietary Aquadura screw-down crown technology that they invented nearly 20 years earlier. It wasn't until recreational dive watches became popular during the 50s where Mido could fully utilize their waterproofing technology, and the Ocean Star is one of those models that still to this day showcase what the brand does best. But for this particular version in a modern context, we're looking at the Ocean Star GMT. This watch combines the familiar function that comes with the Ocean Star DNA with a true GMT movement for around $1,000, making it one of the more compelling options for a true GMT on the entire market. Taking a look at the Mido Ocean Star GMT on the wrist, we have measurements of 44 millimeters across, a case height of 13.2 millimeters, and a lug-to-lug distance of 49.5 millimeters. It's a stout case with stocky lugs, and the overall case design has a modern and familiar look within the dive watch category, where it blurs the line between a round case and a tonneau-shaped case. It's a similar shape to what you would get from the likes of a Rolex Submariner or a Sea Dweller, where the sides of the case transitions into the lugs with one curved line. On the wrist, the Ocean Star GMT feels substantial and will generally take up quite a bit of real estate. In terms of the actual wear of this piece, it's going to wear closer to that of a 43 millimeter case. The lug-to-lug distance is not that substantial, but across it is still rather broad, wearing slightly smaller than what it's going to indicate with that 44 millimeter case, but probably is going to be best suited on wrists at the size of 6.5 inches or 16.5 centimeters to really pull this one off. At the standard 3 o'clock position, we find the signed screw-down crown situated between crown guards. The crown does have standard operating positions with the added function of a GMT. Start by unscrewing it into the first position where you can hand wind the movement. From there, you then can extend the crown into the second position where you can then operate the GMT, the local hour hand, and that will also be a quick set, so you can also set up that date and can go in either direction, so backwards and forwards. If you're not familiar with a true GMT, this is one of the prime entry doors of getting into this world. Typically, you're going to need to spend around $3,000 to $4,000 to get a true GMT caliber. So this is one of those rare exceptions where you're able to, in context, land, say, in a new time zone and be able to, without stopping the balance, set that local time while still having your home time situated with that additional hand in orange. And in order to set that final time, that would actually be where you would start when actually setting the watch. You then can pull it out to the farthest position to adjust all of those hands. And then when making an adjustment for your local time, can then isolate that hour hand as well as set the appropriate date. When the crown is screwed down all the way, the Ocean Star GMT has water-resistant capabilities up to 200 meters, which is quite solid and will offer some nice versatility. The unidirectional bezel is 120 clicks and is easy to engage with its thick notched edge. It's fitted with a glossy ceramic insert with a classic countdown scale and bold white hashes and 10-minute increments. There's a lume pip at the 0 or 12 o'clock position, which is placed inside of a white square, which helps replace the traditional triangle. If there is a drawback to this design, it would be that you can't quite tell if you're lined up with the minute markers the same way you would if you had a triangle in the same position, but very small point here. The case features a mix of soft horizontal and vertical brushes with polished bevel edges along the front and back. The beveling or chamfering along the top of the case helps define the shape of the lugs and crown guards, while the same technique on the back removes any sharp edges that might cause discomfort while on the wrist. The combination of brush and polished surfaces are found along the oyster-style 3-link bracelet as well. Polished center links are flanked on either side by brushed exterior links. These outside links are beveled along their outer edge, matching the bevel along the edge edge of the case. The bracelet runs 22 millimeters between the lugs and tapers down to 19 millimeters before reaching the large, well-executed mill folding clasp. The clasp features two sets of 2 buttons, 2 of which will unlock and open the clasp, while the other set of buttons unlock the hidden diver extension. Fully extended, this part will provide an additional 20 millimeters of room. In my review of the Mido Ocean Star Tribute when I was actually traveling to Bilbao, Spain, this was one of the best talking points about the watch itself. I'd love to see more brands accompany this as they go forward. The clasp is finished with more of the vertical brushing and has a Mido name machine engraved between the primary set of security buttons. The bracelet itself is quite comfortable. It does feature a couple different half links and then also will have classic push pins. Bracelet overall though, certainly worth getting in my opinion. It is well executed and for a $1,000 watch is going to certainly do the job. Transitioning back to the front of the Ocean Star, we have a flat sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on both sides to give us a clear view of the deep black dial below. The dial is jet black with some reflective qualities, but the most impressive aspect is just how well all the elements pop in contrast against it. Starting along the rehaut or inner bezel, we have the 24-hour GMT scale with even number hours printed in orange and white hashes printed to indicate the odd hours. Moving further inside to the dial itself, the outer edge features the applied hour markers set within a simple minute track. Each marker is rectangular in shape with the exception of the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock marker, which are sets of squares, and at the 3 o'clock position where the date window truncates the hour marker down to a square as well. Inside each marker is a single piece of high quality green luminescent material. This lume is also found in the semi-skeletonized hands, including the orange GMT and seconds hand. Popping off the jet black dial is the white Mido logo at the 12 o'clock and the Ocean Star name found above the 6 o'clock position. In its entirety, there is a good deal of balance and contrast to the dial. The lume is also very impressive in its application, glowing bright and consistently green across each element, providing excellent legibility in the dark and of course in broad daylight. Now turning the watch over, we have a solid screw down case back that features a GMT grid displaying the different time zones across the globe in their relationship to each other and to GMT itself. The case back covers up the automatic Mido caliber 80 within a movement heavily based on the ETA C07661, which is itself a modified ETA 2824. This is going to be redone completely by the Swatch Group, which really represents the amazing perks and additions that come with being a Swatch Group brand because this movement is fantastic. Now this movement, as mentioned earlier, is going to be a true GMT movement, meaning that that local hour hand is going to be isolated with its movement at that second position, which will also change the date. This movement is going to stack up incredibly well against the ETA 28932, the SW330, as it does have that local hour hand function with that true GMT. Also will have an extended power reserve of 80 hours with the dropping of the beat rate from 4 Hertz to 3 Hertz. And from an accuracy standpoint, just testing this particular piece as a point of anecdotal evidence, it ran around 4 seconds off from perfect time of day when testing at different positions. So absolutely fantastic movement and one of the best representations of value in the GMT range. So now to unpack looking at this Mido Ocean Star GMT. In regards to Mido as a brand, severely underrated, delivers great value for money products, no question about it. And I think this one is just an embodiment of that very idea. Now, there are some challenges when it comes to probably the wearability being the #1 downside of this piece. I think a lot of people in the market are going to find this to be just too big for them, which is an unfortunate reality because there's just so much going for this watch if you can pull this one off. True GMT movement on the inside, 80-hour power reserve, reliable movement, incredible finishing when it comes to that bezel as well as the dial surface. Great stark contrast. The anti-reflective coating makes it incredibly legible. The bracelet is also very solid for the price point, and the clasp is going to be very good compared to the competition. There's simply a lot to like about this watch. And in terms of what it's doing for the money, it is incredibly hard to beat. And if you can pull this one off in terms of your wrist size, I would highly recommend it. All right, guys, well, thank you again so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That really does help out the channel. Also, if you're in the market for this watch, TeddyBaldassarre.com is a full authorized dealer of all the brands covered on this channel. Quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support. We also offer a full factory warranty for all the products we carry, so if something goes wrong, you're not having to pay the bill for it. Also, we offer price match, so if you see one of our watches for cheaper at another authorized dealer, fill out the form, we'll get in touch with you, and 9 out of every $10 that we generate goes right back into the content that we're creating here, as well as on our main channel, trying to foster up a new generation of watch enthusiasts in the process. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.